We have heard it said so many times that Africa collapsed after the white colonizers left. Africa was far more beautiful when the colonizers were in Africa.
This excerpt is taken from a post in our WhatsApp group on a topic about spirituality and human material development in Africa. The assertion that Africa was more prosperous during the colonial era has been a recurring sentiment, as exemplified by the above excerpt. This statement prompted me to deeply contemplate the connection between spirituality and material development in Africa. While the sentiment expressed holds some truth, it oversimplifies the complex dynamics at play. The decay witnessed after the colonial era was not solely due to Africa's spirituality being inferior, but rather a consequence of the deep-seated trauma inflicted by colonialism. It's crucial to recognize that the current state of decay across the continent is a direct result of colonialism and its enduring neocolonial influence. Delving into historical colonial records of encounters with African societies reveals a common theme: the organized and well-structured nature of these societies prior to colonization. The 1922 Bangwa Area Assessment Report specifically highlighted the advanced organizational structure of the Bangwa society, advocating for the continuation of the indirect governance system introduced in Nigeria. However, instead of nurturing and enhancing these indigenous institutions to serve the interests of the people, colonial powers repurposed them as instruments of exploitation. The transformation of indigenous systems into tools of colonial subjugation disrupted the natural progression towards self-modernization within African societies, leaving them grappling with a system they were not equipped to navigate. Africans were infantilized and spiritually disoriented to keep them subservient to the colonial system. King Leopold of Belgium's infamous letter, intended to orient European missionaries to Africa, sheds light on the deliberate chaos sown in African societies by colonial powers. The colonial encounter wasn't a reflection of the Europeans' advanced spirituality, but rather a calculated imposition of their values through the Bible and the gun. While spirituality encompasses core values and morality, colonial powers expected African adherence to their introduced ethical and moral principles, but they failed to reciprocate the same values in their treatment of African communities. Just as Christianity had been used to temper the spirit of the Africans enslaved in the New World, it became another handy tool in the subjugation of Africans on the continent. Spirituality, an intrinsic facet of humanity, takes diverse forms across cultures. African indigenous spiritualities offer profound insights into the spiritual realm, emphasizing the quest for connection with a higher being and inner personal growth. This spirituality finds expression through religious practices, meditation, artistic endeavors, nature exploration, and acts of compassion and service. The disruption of African self-improvement efforts by the West underscores a lack of reciprocal compassion in their spirituality towards African communities. While spirituality is often intertwined with religion, it transcends religious contexts, with many identifying themselves as spiritual but not religious. Ubuntu, a form of spirituality originating in southern Africa, embodies communal values, in stark contrast to the individualistic ethos of the West. Africa finds itself ensnared in spiritual disarray, disconnected from its indigenous spiritual roots and struggling to navigate the acquired spiritualities from the colonial encounter. The post-colonial era brought about decay and stagnation within African societies, primarily due to the inherent structure of the colonial enterprise. Infrastructure development in Africa excluded meaningful involvement of the local populace, relegating Africans to mere bystanders in the European enterprise. Education under colonial rule aimed at producing functionaries for the colonial system, perpetuating a culture of subservience rather than fostering technical expertise for the benefit of African societies. This legacy of colonialism continues to shape the neocolonial landscape, impeding genuine progress and self-determination in post-colonial Africa. The fate of African nations such as Congo, Sudan, Libya, Central African Republic, and Somalia reflects the repercussions of a disrupted spirituality in the face of external pressures. However, it's imperative to look beyond the perceived shortcomings of African spirituality and recognize the systematic external forces that continuously thwart efforts for progress and self-determination. The struggles faced by visionary leaders like Lumumba, Sankara, Gaddafi, Nkrumah, and contemporary figures such as Burkina Faso's Traoré and his counterparts in Mali and Niger underscore the multifaceted factors influencing human material development beyond spirituality alone. In conclusion, Spirituality indeed plays a pivotal role in human development, but its impact is intricately intertwined with historical, socio-economic, and political factors. Recognizing the enduring repercussions of colonialism and neocolonialism on African societies is crucial in understanding the complexities of material development and navigating a path towards holistic progress and self-determination.